Hi, my name is Abhijit and I'm a software engineer and I have a quite experience in developing some Python application from ground zero, and welcome to the complete tutorial on Django Rest framework. In this tutorial, we will be seeing a lot of things about Django Rest framework. First of all, we will start with what is an API, why do we use a framework called Django Rest framework when we already have a framework called Django. Okay, and we will start with a very basic concepts about Django Rest framework, that what is an API decorator, what are API views, and some of the advanced topic of Django Rest framework, like how we can do authentication in Django Rest framework, and what are some Modelviewset, how we can do pagination in Django, and also we will be seeing different methods in an API, what we can do, like we will be discussing about get method, when do we use really get method, post method, patch, put, delete, and all of the advanced topic which you need to become a Django Rest framework developer, we will be seeing in this particular video. So let's get started. So yeah, let's start. And in this video, we will see when we had a framework called Django, then why are we using a framework called Django Rest framework? And like Django Rest framework is a big framework, but if we look about Django Rest framework, that is basically a library. So let's start. What are REST APIs and why we use Django Rest framework? So let's take an example where let's suppose we had an e-commerce website and that website was running very well, and a lot of customers were buying products, and our sales was at an insane level. So we people thought that instead of running that particular website, let's start with one more thing, that let's create an Android application. Okay, so now we have two things. One is a website, and now we have our Android application, or you can say mobile application, both on Android and iOS. But the problem is, when you use Django, you are gonna pass HTML template. Let's suppose we had a product page, and on that product page we were passing a product.html, and on using Django context we were passing the data from our database. But we cannot do that thing on our mobile application, or you can say any application. So now we are in trouble. So this is where REST APIs comes into picture, and this is a place where Django REST framework also comes into the picture. So to interact our Android application to our backend service, or you can say our application, we need something where we can pass the data, where we can get the data from the Android application, and where we can show the data, if we want to show some products, if we want to show some user details, like what orders he has made, and some other information. So we can use APIs to interact with application between a backend server and an Android application. So that interaction will be happen with the help of REST APIs. Okay, so in REST APIs, we basically do what we do is we pass data in the form of JSON format, and JSON stands for JavaScript object notation, and we will see. So what we do is we created our Django REST framework. We use Django REST framework, and we converted all our you can say HTML templates, where we are rendering HTML template. We use REST APIs, or you can say Django REST framework functions, or you can say classes, to create our APIs. So this is a place where Django REST framework can help you, and basically we can create all of the APIs in Django also. But the problem is we cannot, there are already classes built in on Django REST framework which we can use. Let's suppose we are we want to convert our query set into JSON, or then we don't have any kind of mechanism in Django, but we have a mechanism on using Django REST framework, that is called serializer. So that all a part of Django REST framework we will see in the later part of the video. So let's suppose now this is a place where we understand where we can use Django REST framework. So we created APIs, and all the APIs were exposed to our website, or you can say application. And also all these modern application, when we are creating some modern application, we don't rely on only HTML. We use some sort of a front-end framework called React, Angular, or Vue. It's depend on choice. So all these framework don't directly use HTML. They use some sort of APIs to get the data, to pull the data, to post the data, and to show the data. So this is also a place where we can use our REST APIs to interact with our front-end application, and this is how JSON will look like. Let's suppose we had orders, and you can see it's a kind of a list, or you can say array, and in that array we had some object, or you can say dect in terms of Python, and we have a like key value pair like order number, this date when an order was ordered, and we have a tracking number, customer ID, customer, and in that like you can say dict, or you can say object, we again have a list, or you can say array. So this is what JSON, or you can say JavaScript object notation will look like. And now I think you are pretty clear that why we are going to use Django Rest framework and what's the use of Django Rest framework. So let's go and the installation part of Django Rest framework, where we will use and install Django Rest framework. So this is a like official website of Django Rest framework, and we are going to use this website for the entire video. And let's start by installing Django Rest framework and how we can add Django Rest framework. First of all, we need to create a virtual environment, and it's a kind of a Python thing. So first of all, let's install let's create a virtual environment, and let's name this at env and activate this virtual env. Okay, and now we are going to install Django, because to use Django Rest framework, we first install Django and then we install Django Rest framework. Okay, so Django is installing. We are using like 4.0.4 version of Django Rest framework, and now let's clear the screen, and let's create our Django application. So type Django admin, start project, and we will name the project as core. Okay, and now let's go into the core and let's install Django Rest framework. So to install Django Rest framework, you can see like it's pip install Django Rest framework. So let's do that thing, pip install Django Rest framework, and now you can see we are successfully installed with Django Rest framework. So let's open this particular directory in the VS Code. So we are also gonna use VS Code for the entire project, and this is this thing. So first of all, let's create an, you can say, app which will help you to I think you basically know about what are apps in Django, and if you don't know, you can watch that particular video, or which is on the SCALER channel. So let's start by creating an app. So now let's create an app which will be Python manage.py start app, and the name of the app will be home. Okay, so now our home app is now created. Let's open it in VS Code, and let's add what you can say REST framework in this. So we have already installed the REST framework. To use the functionalities of REST framework, what we do is we add REST framework in our installed app. So let's do that particular thing. Let's open settings.py, and let's add, first of all, let's add register our home app, and after that we can add REST framework as a test. Okay, so right now we are good to go with REST framework, and we can create our APIs, we can consume our APIs, and let's start with APIview. So what is an APIview in Django Rest framework? So basically what APIview really means, actually when you have a functions, and you already write some functions in Django, and that function are responsible for rendering out HTML template and the data which you pass in the context. But in API we don't deal with HTML, we directly dump the JSON response, and our front end consumes that particular API. So APIview is an or you can say, let me first of all open that thing. So APIview is a kind of a decorator which converts your existing Django function, or you can say Python function, into an APIview function. Okay, as you already are familiar with what are decorators in Python, this is totally same. It modifies the function behavior that now your function is capable of handling all the APIs thing. Okay, so let's do that particular thing. We don't need render in this, so we can remove this, but that particular thing. And again, one more thing I want to tell you that is very important. When we are dealing with APIs, we have some sort of method which we use to create or update or get data, and those like every method is responsible for handling its own functionality. So let's suppose when we want to get some data from the database or get some data from the server, we basically use get API. Okay, and you will like see that particular thing in the later part of the video, but I want to tell you that it's very important. Okay, and then it comes the post API. So when you want to save some data, and or if you want to send some data to the server, then it comes post API. And if you want to like update the data, then it comes, we have like two APIs for updating, two request method for updating the data. First one is put and next one is patch. We will see like in the later part of the video. And let's suppose we want to delete some data, we have a like delete request method. Okay, so all these methods are responsible for handling all their functionality, and we use this method when we want to like get the data, we use get method, and when we want to post, when we want to save the data, when we want to update the data, we use put or patch. When we want to delete the data, we use delete method. Okay, so let's create a function. So let's suppose right now our function name is home, or let's take it as index. Okay, and now like it will definitely take a request parameter because we are dealing with Django, and now it won't return any kind of HTML. So let's suppose we want to like return some JSON response, like I hope like you are familiar with JSON response. So let's suppose we want to familiar with courses. Okay, so a courses has a dict. Okay, so let's suppose the course name is, you can say, Python, and in Python what you will learn, we have like something this learn a key. Okay, and in learn key we will have a lot of things, like you will learn Flask, you will learn Django, and you will learn Tornado. Okay, these are the things, and you will also learn fast API. Okay, we have these kind of thing. Let's correct the name of the Python, and you have a course provider. So the course provider is SCALER. Okay, so these are the like three, and we want to return this data in the front end, so we can use response instead of render, and we can like paste this. And now we want to like, as you know, we are getting the data, so we are using the, you can say, get method. So and we will use API decorator, and in API decorator you can pass what are the methods which this particular function accepts. So right now we are only accepting get method, so we will apply a list of method. So let's suppose this method was able to accept post also, so we can type comma post, and if put also, so we can add a put method. So now this function can handle get, post, and put methods. Okay, so but now we are like only focusing on get method, how actually APIview works. So we will like fix this thing, so we will stuck to get method. Okay, now what we need to do is we can create a API folder, so which will help us to like add all the API routes over here. Okay, so like as you know, like when we have let's suppose we have a domain of abc.com. okay, on abc.com our frontend will like go live, and but all our API will be on API slash this thing. So like a lot of APIs you have have a prefix of API. Okay, and all these APIs start from here, so you can see. So our API will be this thing, API slash index. So to do that particular thing, we have created an API folder, and we can create a render init method which will help Python to read this directory. Okay, and after that we can have a urls.py. okay, now we can import the function from home dot views. Let's import all, or you can say let's import index. Okay, that's more good. Okay, now we need to fix the URL thing, so we can just copy that particular thing from here and let's paste it over here. So and our route is what, index, and we can add it over index over here. Okay, I hope like you people are now good to go, and now let's register this URL into over here. So let's add path, that will start from API, and all our API will come over here. Let's import include API.urls. okay, now let's include. So let's test this API. First of all, let's boot up our server by typing python manage.py, and first of all we need to make migration, you can say migrate, because like Django Rest framework has some tables called session and other things. So let's first of all migrate, and now we are python manage.py run server. Okay, now let's go over here and hit this API/index. So now you can see we are now successfully able to get the data, and as you can see methods are which the method which we have called, that's called a get method, and the content type is in JSON. This is a Django Rest framework kind of UI, but we won't be using this entirely because we have something to test our API. We have some tools that we are gonna use entire the video, and the name of that tool is Postman. So let's install Postman. So you can go on Postman website and install that particular thing. You can install it from here, maybe from here. Okay, but I have already installed, so I won't be doing that particular thing. So let's go on Postman. So okay, and now we can close all the things which we don't really need. Okay, and let's now paste the route. So we can copy that particular route from here and hit this thing. Like now when you want to send some post method, you can toggle it from here. Let's suppose we are sending a post method, and Django server will throw an error that method post is totally not allowed. Okay, and if we do for put, that is not also allowed. So if we will add that particular method over here, post, then it will definitely work. But how would we know that the method which is coming from the front end, that is it's a post method, or it's a get method, or it's something else? How we can know that particular thing? So to know that particular thing, we basically have we can check it. We can add a if else statement. So if request dot method equal to post. So let's suppose if the request method is post, or you can say, first of all we are going to check it for get. So let's suppose if request dot method is get, so we can return this data, and we can check like else elif, or you can say elif request dot method equal to what, post. Then we can return some other response, like return response, and we can return some other data. So let's suppose this time we are returning some other data. What you can do is we can return this thing as same, but we will print something different. Okay, so let's suppose we are hitting some get data, so we can call this you hit a get method. Okay, you hit a get method, and if we are doing this, we can just copy that thing and paste it over here. You hit a post method, and we can just return same response from here as well. Okay, now you can see, let's test this particular thing. So first of all, we are hitting the get method. So you can see you hit a post method basically. Okay, sorry, we have hit the post method. So now if we will toggle this method to the get method, and we will hit send. So now you can see it's showing, and it's printing you hit a get method. Okay, and you can test for other method as well. So let's suppose we want to go put method. You can check if request dot method equal to put, and you need to allow that method over here also. If you will not allow that method, it won't be getting in this inside this function. Okay, so now you are good to go with how actually we we can create some APIs. Okay, so now it's time for something different. So like now it's time for like now you are good to go. How we can do get method, get, post, put, patch, delete, and all these stuff. You can add it over here. Let's suppose I want to, and let me show one more example that how you can put. Okay, so let's put and lf request dot method equal to put. We can just return same thing and we can just put change it over here. Okay, let's do this. We hit a put method over here. Now you hit a put method. Okay, now you are good to go. Now let's jump into like serializer. What really serializers means? So like let me explain to you. Serializer, like first of all, when you like, let's suppose we have a model called person, and we want to get all the person which are on the table. So our ORM sentence will look something like this: person dot objects dot all, and like it will return all the person. Let's suppose we have like 3% or 4%, so it will return 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And as you know, the data type of this particular thing will be query set. It will be a query set. So we cannot expose our query set in the front end, so it should be in a JSON format. So to do that particular thing, we use serializer. So what serializer really means, you pass some data and it converts into a JSON response, or you can say JSON. So that really serializer means. Like it helps you to convert all your query set, all your data, or your like Django queries, or you can say the data which you get from the Django queries, to in a JSON, or you can say JavaScript object notation format. It helps you in that way, and vice versa. If you want to save some data, it directly like convert that JSON response into a query set and save into a database. So basically serializer means a class which helps you to serialize the data in the form from the query set to JSON response, and vice versa. And like we have some sort of, you can say, serializer in Django Rest framework. Or like the most used serializer is model serializer. Then we have the normal serializer, we have hyperlink serializer, list serializer, base serializer. But majority of time we only use this particular serializer class and this model serializer. They are like very widely used. When you read some like a lot of code on GitHub or in company, most probably there are chances you will be using this serializer class and this model serializer. So first of all, let's create a model. Okay, let's go over here and type let's create a class of person models dot model, and let's first of all name this. So it will be models dot char field, and let's add max length of 100, and it should be it has a age, so it will be a integer field. Okay, and now let's create a class that's called serializer. And first of all, we are gonna see an example of model serializer. Then we will see about what is, you can say, basic serializer. Okay, serializers.py. Okay, so like before jumping into model serializer, I just skipped one thing, that was how we can accept the posted data from the front end. Let's suppose I want to send some data from here to the backend, then how we can do that? I just skipped that particular thing. So let's just cover that topic as well. So let's suppose views. So let's suppose we are in a post method and we want to get the data from the front end. So let's suppose I want to pass something. Okay, let's suppose we can do this from the raw JSON, sorry. And if we want to like send some data, let's suppose I want to send name of the person, and the name of the person is Abhijit, and the age, so let's suppose the age is 25, Okay, so we want to send this particular data to the backend server. Then how we can do that? So right now we can toggle the method, like this thing we already know. We can like toggle the method and we can send it over. But how we can accept that data over here? Okay, that's a question. So we can do request dot data. Once we do this particular thing, data is equal to request dot data, we are able to get the data which is passed in the form of JSON from the front end. So let me show you with an example. Let me just print this particular data, print data, and let's add some like a special character over there so you can like basically see what's happening. Okay, okay, now let's hit this particular route, and now you can see like we got the data. This is the like feature of Django Rest framework. Like you just type this thing request.data. So if you want to access some data which is coming from in the form of post request, in the form of put patch, you can do this particular thing. Okay, and one more thing, when you want to get some data from the front end in get request, you don't actually do this particular thing. And that particular thing we use, you can say query parameter, you can say query string. So let's suppose I want to add something in, like if you have used some like e-commerce website like Flipkart or Amazon or any hotel searching API, there are a lot of chances that you have already seen this particular thing. And if you have worked on Django project, then there are probably chances that you have also seen this particular thing. So you pass this thing over here, search is equal to Abhijit. Okay, so it will, you can grab this particular thing. This only works like this thing you only use in get request. So if you want to do this, so you can do request dot get and you just name the string. So the name was search, sorry, not name, search. Okay, search. Okay, let's hit. So let's suppose you are doing a get request and you just send it over here. You just got that data, Abhijit, and let's suppose I want to update it to Rahul, and you can get that Rahul also. And if you want to get the data from the like in the form post request put patch delete, you can do this particular thing request.data. Let's toggle this. Okay, I don't know, like server is booting up, so let's hit. Now you can do this thing, and if you want to get that like if you want to get a specific key, so you can do this thing data.name, like in the form when you like do in the dictionary, or you can say other things. Okay, Abhijit, and if you want to get the age, these things actually work. Okay, now let's go on the serializer part. Let's import model serializer. So let's import serializer. So first let's write from REST framework import serializer. Okay, and let's name the serializer class. So class will be like people serializer. Okay, and we are gonna pass model serializer class over here. So model serializer, and like to actually know which model to serialize, we need a class, one more class that is called inner class, and the name of the class is meta. So we need meta, and in meta we add a model field which automatically knows that this serializer class is linked to that particular model. So let's import that model also from dot models import person. Okay, and let's paste it over here. And also we need to add one more field over in the meta class, that is what field we need to serialize. So let's suppose we want to serialize only two fields, so we can type like fields over here, fields, and we can like add a list where we can pass two fields. So let's suppose this model has name and age field, so we can type name and age in this, and let's add in a string. Okay, and let's suppose this model has got a lot of other fields, so we can type a, like let's suppose the name of the field was A, then we have B, so we can type this also. So let's suppose this we want to serialize all the fields which are on the model class. We can type all also. Okay, so also there is an example, like there are, let's suppose there are 10 of field in this particular person class, and we want to exclude those two fields only. We want to add all the fields, but we want to exclude the two fields. So we have a field, you can say we have a like attribute called exclude, which let's suppose which helps you to exclude the fields. So let's suppose we want to exclude the name field, we can type name. We want to exclude the age field, we can type age also. So it will not serialize that field also. So we will see an example that what it really means. So let's suppose right now we want to serialize all the fields which are on the, you can say, model. So also we are like model is ready. So let's create an API which will like help us to get all the people, and which will again help us to create the people. Okay, so let's name this function as def people, and let's pass request parameter. Okay, and first of all we need to add two methods. This particular function will be able to handle these you can say two method. The first one will be a get, and the next one will be a post method. So let's check if the method is get. Okay, so we need to get all the data from the database. So peoples, or you can say objects. Okay, objs, let's type person. Okay, sorry, the name of the model is person objects dot all, and we can again change this over here, person. Okay, so we have written a query that which will fetch all the person from the database, but we are gonna serialize this. So serializer is equal to person. First of all we need to import from home dot serializer, import person serializer. Okay, and we want to pass this thing over here, and as you know, when we type all, it returns a query set. So we will get 1 2 3 4 5 6 as many as objects. So we need to pass many also. So if data was only one, we don't need to pass many, but if the data is above, if the length of the object is above then more than one, so we need to pass many equal to true, and we are gonna return response serializer dot data. Okay, if this is a get method. And now let's do it for the post method else. So first of all we gonna get the data. As you know, when we want to get the data from the front end, we do request dot data, also that we need to convert into a query set. So we type people serializer, and we type data is equal to data. Okay, and then we check if the if the serializer is valid. If if the data, let's suppose we pass the data only name, and this particular model needs age as well, so the data is not valid. We can check to save that particular thing in the database, we need both the field name and age. So it will check whether this data is serialized or not, whether this data is validated or not. So to check, we can type if serializer dot is valid. If the serializer returns true, we can save this particular method with the using of save keyword, or you can save method, and we can return response of serializer dot data. Otherwise, if something went wrong, we can return the error, that these were the errors which we encountered when we were saving the data. So we can do serializer dot errors. Okay, so now I think you are able to get, this is our API for handling get and post data. So let's add it into the urls.py. So path, which will be person, and okay, so we need to import it as well. So now let's check, and let's clear the console, python manage.py run server. Okay, and now let's go to this API and type person, and let's hit. So right now like this data has nothing. We are getting get request, name is required, what is happening, get. Okay, let's see views, request. We need to add request dot method equal to get. Okay, so let's do this. So right now this data, like this all the you can say database is empty, so it's returning a empty response. Let me like bigger the font first. So I think like now the font is totally visible. So when we hit a get on this particular API, so right now this particular table doesn't contains any data, so it's returning a empty list. So let's do you can say post method and create something. So let's suppose we pass a empty response. So right now it's saying, it's throwing an error that name and ages are required. So let's suppose we remove, we add this thing, we only want to serialize name field. So now you can see it will return only one error, that is name is required, name is required. And if we remove it by age, so now you can see it requires only age field. I think like now you are able to get what this actually means. Okay, so let's back to the all field. Okay, let's send it, and now you can see name and age both are required. So let's give it a name. Okay, so name, and name is what, let's suppose Abhijit, and age is something around 24. Let's hit this. So right now like it return a success response that status is okay, and we are able to successfully save the data. And let's hit our get API. Okay, so let's, now you can see we are able to get the data. Let's create some more people. So the next people name will be, let's suppose XYZ, and let's get one more people, ABC, with the age of 35. Let's do this, and now let's do the get API, hit the get API. So now you are able to see we are able to successfully get all the data from the database. So ID is this, yes, and this. Okay, let's close this. Okay, now send. Okay, now you are able to get. So now let's see how we can update the data, because we are able to get the data, we are able to create the data, but we are not able to update the data. Let's suppose we want to update the age of Abhijit to 36, 35, 40, and we want to delete this thing also. So now we are going to see the difference between put and patch APIs, and how we can add a delete API as well. So like for this particular thing, we are going to create one more, you can say, function that will help you out. Otherwise we can add in here also. So first of all, let's create a put method, and then we create a patch method. So now we need to check if request dot method equal to, if the method is post, we are gonna hit run this particular code. If the method is get, we are gonna run this particular code. And if the method is put, if request dot method equal to put, we are gonna run this method. So first of all, we need to grab the data, so we can do this thing, and we want to serialize the data. Okay, and now we are gonna return the same data. So first of all, let me tell you the difference between put and patch method. Both the methods are responsible for updating the data, but there is a minor difference between put and patch method. So first of all, let me implement that method, and then you will be able to understand that what's the difference, put and patch. Okay, so basically in put method, we do both, as we know, like both the methods are responsible for updating the data. But the problem with put and patch is able to like it supports partial update, and put doesn't support partial update. What it actually means, so let's suppose we want to update this particular model with the, you can say, let's suppose we want to update this particular, so we, the age is right now, the age of Abhijit is 24, we want to update it to 40. So what we need to do is, we need, in put method, we need to pass all the data which we, whether we want to update that field, whether we want to update or not. But in patch method, that supports partial updating. That means we only want to pass that particular field only. So let's suppose we want to update Abhijit, so we want to pass the ID. Okay, so we want to pass the ID first of all, then we want to pass the name Abhijit, then we want to pass age, which is the, which will be updated age, that will be, let's suppose we want to update it to 34, this will be the our response. But in case of you can say patch method, it should only take two things. The first one will be ID, on which ID you want to update, and on what's the age. Let's suppose this is the difference between put and patch. So this patch method supports partial updation, and put method doesn't support partial update. Okay, let's check. So, and also patch method, we need to add partial equal to true. So it automatically, like Django Rest framework, understand that this is a partial method. We want to run the partial serializer, and in this particular field we want to add this thing. So let's now add one thing. First, also we need to, like you can say, add a data field. So let's do this. Okay, put, and we need to, this thing, we need to copy this thing, this over here. Okay, so let's suppose we want to update the age to 56, and we send the data. You can say the data is updated, but if we like remove this thing, then what will happen? It will throw name is required. Okay, but if we do this using a patch method, it will works fine. We don't need to add anything. Okay, okay, so let's create this thing. So we, okay, let's do this thing. Also we need to pass the object also. Sorry, I would just forget that thing. So first of all, we need to get the object is equal to person dot objects dot get id is equal to data of id, and we need to pass the object also. I was just forget this by mistake. Okay, so also like one more thing, that in patch method we need to pass the object. We want to pass the updated data, and we do partial equal to true. And now if we go do this particular thing, it's work absolutely fine. Let's suppose this thing, and let's like able to create one more tab where we will get the data. So right now the age is 78, so let's suppose we want to update that age to 12 and hit. Now you are able to see the updated thing. So let's suppose we want to update the id of 3, and let's suppose we want to update the name of id equal to 3. So we can do this thing, id name is equal to, what can be a name, we can type Madan, and let's hit. Okay, and if you will get the data, you will be able to see the updated data as well. Okay, so now let's see about how delete works. So let's check L, if else you can type, and first of all we need to get the data, that is gonna be request dot data, and object obj is equal to, we can copy this thing from here. Okay, and let's do this thing, obj dot delete. Okay, and return response. We can type like message, and here we can return the message that is gonna be data deleted. You can say person deleted, that will make more sense, person deleted. and we should be very conscious when we are using get, because when it don't get any kind of data, it returns it raises an exception. So let's see. So first of all, let's do a delete method. Okay, and the id is 3. So let's see. Method delete is not allowed, we need to add it over here. Patch, after patch we can add delete. Let's hit now. Okay, now you can see like the person is deleted, and when we get the data, you cannot see after id 2 it directly jumps to 4. Let's suppose we want to delete 4th number data. Okay, now you can see we won't be able to see the 4 numbers data, and we can do 5 for 5 also, and for 6 also, for 7 also. Okay, 6 1 is also deleted. Now you can see 1 2 and 7 directly. I hope like you people now able to understand. So this was all about REST, you can say API view decorator, how we can do get data, how we can apply post method, how we can do put, patch and delete. And this is the most asked interview question, that was the difference between put and patch request. So you can like say like in patch it supports partial updation, and in put it don't support partial updation, and you can like tell about what's partial updation really means. So this was total video about you can say API view decorator. Now we are gonna see the advanced part of Django Rest framework. Okay, so let's see how we can validate data in Django serializer, because the data which is coming from the front end, we cannot rely on that data. So the data is correct. So let's suppose we want to only save a person whose age is greater than 18. So we need to add a validation that the age which is coming from the front end, that should be greater than 18, shouldn't be less than 18. And same applies to name as well. So we don't want to save a name which contains any kind of a special characters, like elf, you can say at the rate symbol, any symbol which is considered to be a special character. So let's see how we can do this. First of all, we will like see how we can add a validation, like a person should be the age of the person should be greater than 18. So we need to add a validate method. So def validate, and it takes a data parameter. So the data which is coming from the front end, the gets goes on here, and we can check if data of age is less than 18. So we can, if the age is less than 18, we can raise a exception. So we can like raise serializer dot validation error, age should be greater than 18, should be 18, and we can return the data, So let's test this API. So we can go to this, okay, post, and we can just copy the data. We can, first of all, we need to run the server Python. Okay, so the server is running, we can get the data. So you can say these are the data. So we can, let's add data. Okay, and we can post. So let's add a name of Rohan. Okay, and let's hit, and the age should be, age is 12. So it's returning an error, age should be greater than 18. And we can, as you can see, the validation is working right now. So let's suppose I pass age of 19, and it successfully saves the data. Okay, and let's like this is for the, if you want to add more validation, you can add over here. So there is a different method also. You can write def validate underscore age. Okay, and self data. Okay, so this also works. We can print the data what we are getting, and we can return also. So let's suppose we want to check this one. So you can check 19 we are getting. So here we are getting the single parameter, and we can apply the same logic for a single field in over here. So let's suppose you have one more field called name. So you will you will add a prefix of validate underscore and add the name of the field. So let's suppose here it's age, so we can add age. So let's suppose it's dob, we can add dob. Okay, so now let's suppose we want to add like you can say of validation, or whether the name shouldn't contain any special character. So let's do that thing also. So let's see. So what we can do is we can paste over here. So like right now we have added all the special characters in a string, which is called as special characters, and this contains all the special characters. You can use regex also, but for this particular video we are using string also. So we are looping on it that for C in data, and after that we are checking also any character contains any this thing also. So let's check this thing. So let's suppose Rohan has a special character of at the rate. Let's send this. So you can see it's showing an error that name cannot contain special character, and also that let's suppose we add 12. So it will first of all go on this one. So let's suppose we remove this. Okay, Ram, and the age is 18. So it's now working right now. So you are like now ready to how we can add validation in Django. So you can add more validation. Let's suppose you have 10 of field or 3 of field, you want to add validation on 3 of field, you can add this way, or either the way you can use prefix validate underscore. Okay, so now let's see how we can serialize the foreign key data and what's depth in Django like. Okay, so let's suppose this the class is person, and we add a class of color. Okay, and we create models dot model, and the color name is equal to models dot char field of max length of 100. Okay, and we also register this particular thing to our self dot color name. Okay, let's add this particular model to here so that we can see admin dot site dot register color. Okay, so again let's migrate this. Python manage.py make migrations, and Python manage.py migrate. Okay, and also we need to add one foreign key so that we can see how we treat foreign key in Django REST framework. So models dot char field, sorry, foreign key, it should be foreign key, and a foreign key is added to that color model, and on delete models dot cascade related. Let's add the related name so that we can add a reverse mapping to it, color. Okay, so let's again make migrations and migrate. There was an error, so let's first delete the migrations. Okay, and add null true blank to over here, because we have already added some data, so it won't work. Null true blank equal to true. Okay, make migrations and migrate. Okay, now let's run the server. First of all, let's create a super user so that we can add some dummy data. Super user. Okay, now let's run the server, boot up the server. Okay, so now let's go to the main site. Now we got some color. Let's add some color, red. Now it's some more color, blue. Now let's add some more color, green. Okay. Okay, red, blue, green, and all we need to do is we need to add some colors to the person model as well. So we need to add over here admin dot site dot register person. Okay, now add some dummy data. So let's suppose this one like blue, this person likes green, and this person likes red. Okay, so now when you get this particular API, so you can see it's returning color null color 1. So you can see like it's returning color 3. So but we are not able to decide what 3 denotes. So it can be like red color, it can be blue color. So what we want to do is like we want to show the color which Rohan likes. So what we can do is we can add one more thing, and first of all let's only show that data which has something color. Okay, so what we can do is we can in the get API we can like do this thing person.object.filter color is null equal to false. Okay, now let's cut this API. So you can see now we are only getting the object which has some colors. Okay, so like we are not able to understand what this 1 denotes, what this 3 denotes, what this 2 denotes. So what we can do is first of all we can go in the serializer and we can add one more field that is called depth. Okay, so we can depth to 1. So let's see what we get. So when we add depth equal to 1, that means like let's suppose you had like some fields which were in this particular foreign key model. So what it does is it gets all the data from that particular model. Like you are like we have only 2 fields. The first one is ID, the next one is color. So that is fetching, the Django Rest framework is fetching all the fields from using the depth keyword. Okay, so but in like some criteria we don't want to show all the fields. We only want to see show this color name. Let's suppose we had like some 5 fields. One was ID, one was color name, another one was color hex code, and another one was color URL. But we only are interested in showing this particular color name. So we cannot do this by depth. So we need to write one more serializer which will help Django Rest framework to serialize the foreign key data. So what we can do is first of all we can create a class of color serializer which will help Django Rest framework for understanding that what data we want to show in that particular field. Okay, so let's just copy this particular thing from here. Okay, now let's add class of meta, and let's add model is equal to the model is color. Okay, and now we want to add a fields. So let's suppose fields is equal to we are only interested in one field that is called color underscore name. Okay, here it's color name, so it's working. So now what we can do is instead of passing depth equal to 1, we can do this thing. We are like connected with color, so we can copy this thing and we can color is equal to serializer. We can type color serializer, and we can also type many equal to 3. Okay, so once we do this, and let's again go to this field. Okay, maybe server has stopped. Line number 3. Let's do this thing. Okay, let's remove because we have only one data. Okay, fields. So now you are able to see what data we are serializing is getting only that data. So let's suppose in future we want to show some more data. Like let's suppose we want to show ID also. We can add ID over here. So it will directly show ID. over here. And you need to also understand like what's the difference between depth and you can say serializer. And a lot of interviews directly interviewer asks what's the difference between depth and when we are serializing with another serializer class. So the difference is, see, when you write some serializer, it gives more control to you, that you can show it's up to you that you want to show this field or this field or this field. And but in depth it serializes all the data which is on the specific, or you can say different model. Okay, now I think you are able to understand what's the difference. How we can serialize foreign key data also. This is very important question when you are like giving some Django REST framework interviews. Most of the interviewer directly asks that what's like how we can serialize the foreign key data. So I think now you are able to get. So also let's suppose what serializer method field in Django REST framework. So let's suppose this person, we want to show some country. So let's suppose this person which is belonging to this person, we want to show some country. So what we can do is, we can add one more field that is called country, and we can like pass the data. But let's suppose we want to say add one more field. So we can add country is equal to serializer dot serializer method field. Okay, what you now you can write some custom method for this country. All you need to do is you need to add a prefix which is called get. So you can need to def get underscore country self and obj, and you can return India. So let's hit this particular API, so you will be understanding that what it's mean. So you can write some custom method also. So let's suppose you want, when you are like fetching this API, you want to grab some data which is in the some other table, so you can do that thing also. So you can type this thing. So color underscore obj is equal to color dot objects dot get, and we can like that id is equal to obj dot color dot id, and we can serialize the data. So what we can do is we can like return, instead of directly returning this thing, we can do something like this thing. So color underscore name, which can be which we can get from color obj dot color underscore name, and after that we can pass hex code. So let's suppose we are generating hex code with the help of Python function. So we can type we can pass the red color that string, and it will automatically generate the hex code. So we can do something like this, hex of 000. We are just assuming that the hex code for all the colors is 000. And let's hit this API. Now you can see the magic happens. Okay, so the country, and you can like, let's suppose we want to name something else. So we can type color info, then you need to change by this thing country. So all you need to do is when you are using some serializer method field, all you need to add a get underscore prefix, and when you are validating the data, you only had to add validate underscore prefix. But you are using, when you are using some serializer method field function, or you can say this particular method, you need to add prefix of get underscore. So now let's if we'll hit, so it will automatically change the key name. So now the key name is color info. I hope like you people are able to understand the data, how Django serializer internally works. So let's move on to more serializer classes. The first class that we had is this one, serializer. So let's see what this serializer means. So when you want to write all the functionality custom, okay, then you use this particular serializer. When you don't want to use any internal functionality of model serializer, any internal functionality of hyper model serializer, when you want to customize, write the full custom logic, then you use serializer class. So let me show an example for you. What like basically this class is used for the, you can say, validation. So let me show you an example. Let's suppose we want to design something login page. So when you are storing some data from the login, you like a user table, you cannot use model serializer, because when you are like, if you will, you can basically use the model serializer, but generally we don't. If you want to just serialize if you want to just validate the data, so let's suppose we want to write a login serializer. Okay, and we just pass this class. Okay, and now just all we want to is we want to check whether this particular the data which we are getting from in the form of request packet contains this data or not. So let's suppose email is equal to serializer dot char field. It should be a char field, or you can say email field. And let's suppose we want to add a password. Okay, password is equal to serializer dot the password should be in a char field. Okay, so now we want to design an API, so let's go over here in this one. Okay, so let's add the rate API view. Okay, let's just copy paste, it will help more. It will only accept post data, so let's remove all the things. Get. Okay, and now def login, and it will take request, and after that let's serialize the data. Data is equal to, first of all we will do request dot data, and after that we will do serializer is equal to login serializer, and we just pass the data. Data is equal to data, and we just check serializer is equal to, if serializer dot is valid, we just do something. We can like get the data, that is called data is equal to serializer dot data, or you can say clean data, or you can say validated data. Okay, and if something is wrong in the data, we can like return a response of serializer dot errors, and we can like return, we can just copy the response from over here. Just copy it. Success, and let's add the route for this URL. So we can go in API URLs path, and the route will be login slash, and the function it will call login, and let's import this function as well. Okay, so let's hit this API and see what we get. Okay, login, let's hit post, body is okay. Now you are able to see that it's to like get the data, it needs email. So let's suppose we add an email, and we just type Abhijit, and we just type of password is equal to 12. Okay, so it will automatically shows an error that it's not a valid email address, and let's type abhijit@gmail.com. let's hit this, so you can see message equal to success, and we are able to, let's suppose in views serializer dot, let's do this thing. Okay, serializer is valid. Okay, we haven't printed the data. Okay, let's do this thing. Now you are able to get the data, email which we have passed from the front end, and the password which we have passed from the front end. So I hope like you are now able to understand like how this thing works, and also we can use validate and other thing as well. Let's move on. So in this particular video we will see about what is an API view in Django Rest framework. Until now we have seen like API view decorator, and let's see what's the difference between API view decorator and API view. So basically API view is a class which helps you to customize your logic. Let's suppose in API view decorator what you do is you write different kinds of method that get, post, put, pat, delete. You don't have any class of a like type of a class. Whereas class helps you to like add a level of encapsulation which helps you to combine your code. So let's suppose you create a class of person and you like add all the method, and like the code reduces dramatically. Like if you like see here, you can like if request dot method equal to get, if elif request dot method equal to post. You don't need to do in API view. All you need to do is you need to implement some method that def get. So if there is a get request, the get method will be called. If that there is a post method, the post method will automatically gets called. So first of all, let's import API view decorator, like API view class. So it's a class. Okay, so let's first of all import over here from rest framework.views import API view. So what we are going to do is, first of all, let's create a class. So the class name we can name as per our like thing. So we will name it person, because it will hold all the APIs which a person can have, like all the CRUD APIs. Basically it can have get API. Person can like the front end should be able to get all the person, should be able to post the person, should be able to update a person, and should be able to delete the person. So like we have written a class of person and we just pass API view decorator over here. And now what we need to do is we need to implement some methods that if def get. So let's suppose if there is a get method, it will automatically gets called. Let me show you with an example. So as you know, like in Python we need to pass self in methods of a class. So we are passing self. After that we need to pass request, and let's just return an empty response so that you people can understand like what's happening behind the scene. So message is equal to, this is a get request. Let's implement some more method which we have in API view. So first of all, let's implement the next method is called post method. So let's update over here. It's a post, and after that's over here also. Okay, so get post, and same applies to the next method, put, patch, and delete. So here we will write put, and here we will update put as well, and here we will write patch method. Okay, and now we are gonna add this patch, then delete, and copy this and delete. Okay, so now like get, post, put, patch, delete, we have like these set of method. And now what we are gonna do is we are gonna like add a URL for this. But like when you are dealing with API view API view class, you need to add your URL in a different manner. Okay, so let's suppose we have like person. Okay, and like we can type person API class so that it can bifurcate. We can like differentiate that this is a different method and this is a different look, or we can like type persons. Okay, so you can like when we call the route person, it will call the API view decorator method, and if we are writing persons, it will call the API view class. So we will call person dot as view. Okay, so we need to add this thing. So from, let's suppose, let's type this API. Okay, so that it shouldn't collapse with the model name, because we have the same model name here, person, and if we will name same as this one, they can collapse. So we can write API. Okay, person API is the class which handles all the, like you can say 5 method which are like important for the, you can say, handling person classes. Okay, so now let's test this thing. Okay, first of all we need to check this one. So let's see let's run a server, python manage.py, run server, and let's persons. So once we hit this, you are able to get like a, this is a get request, and if we do the post method, you can say like it's a post request, and when we do put, you can say it's a put, and when we do patch, you can say it's a patch, and after that when we do delete, you can see it's a delete method. So now you are able to understand like how the methods actually works. Okay, and you can also see like how your code reduces dramatically. Like you can see like we have written this much of code for this thing, and we need to like add one more thing that okay, so if it's a get method, we are checking if request dot method equal to get, it automatically like adjusts. If it is a get method, it automatically calls this method get, and if like it changes according to the method. So let's implement the logic. So to implement the logic, we can copy the data from copy which we have written over here. So this one is totally similar to this thing. Okay, we need to remove this one, this one. Okay, and we can remove this thing also, and for the post we can just copy this thing. It will, okay, just copy and paste it over here. Okay, now our post method is also done, and let's check about put. Let's remove this thing, go for patch. Okay, patch, and let's go for delete. Okay, so now like you are able to understand how this actually works. So let's test this thing. So once we are doing a get request over here, so it should get, we are able to get all the data, and if we are posting the data, it should return an error. Okay, it should, because we have already passed some data over here. So let's suppose we add an age of 45. Okay, and we need to pass, if we want to pass the color as well, let's suppose we pass color of 2. Okay, so it will automatically add the color of 2, and if we do a patch method, so let's suppose we want to update id is equal to, first of all let's add id is equal to 17. Okay, and we want to add name of Ram Mishra. Okay, let's do this one. It should be patch. So once okay, so once we hit send, okay, there is something error, age key age. Okay, we have when like it's adding a validation error. So if data dot get age, and if data dot get, if there is data dot get age, and let's remove this thing for this particular thing. Okay, so let's hit, now you are able to see like we are able to update the data. And let's suppose we want to delete the data, you just need to pass the id, the person is deleted. So this was it for the API view. This was a pretty like a very short kind of thing, because like we have already seen about all these API, how do we write all these kind of logic. All we need to do is, what is an API view? So API view is a class which helps you to encapsulate all the methods which a CRUD API needs. Let's suppose we have 5 kinds of method. The first one is get, post, the next is post, put, patch, and delete. So it integrates all the method. Like you don't need to write any kind of extra logic. It automatically detects what request method is called, and it automatically calls the method. So let's suppose there is a post method, it will automatically call this post method. Or if there is a put request, it automatically will call put request as well. So this was it for the, like you can say, API view decorator, API view class, sorry. And like when you are registering the route, you need to add class name and dot as view also, because if you will don't write this, it will not accept this as a view. So you need to do this thing also. So let's move on to the next part. So let's see about what are model view sets in Django REST framework. So what Django REST framework says, you all need to like focus on your application. You don't need to focus on your like CRUD APIs all thing, because Django REST framework has a class that's called model view set, which is capable of handling all the CRUD API which you write. So let's suppose we have used till now we have seen about what are APIview decorators. So how we can create the data, how we can write all the CRUD APIs. You can say get, post, put, patch, delete, and we have also seen about APIview. So like Django REST framework has a class that's called Modelviewset, which is capable of handling all the CRUD operation in just 2 lines of code. So let's see how it's implemented. So first of all, we need to import the model view set. So let's import that particular thing from REST framework. Import view sets, you can say dot model view set. Okay, so let's do this thing. Let's import, and we just name it as a class of people, class people view set. Okay, and we need to pass the view set class view set dot, and we need to add a serializer class, that and our serializer class is people serializer, and our query set is what, person dot objects dot all. Okay, now all our 4 CRUD, you can say 5 CRUD APIs are done. All we need to is just copy this particular thing and just go in URLs and just import router. So like to register API views we use as view, but to register our router, or you can say register a model view set, we need a different kind of mechanism that's called router. So let's import the router. So first of all we need to go down and just see where it's implemented. Let's just search it, router. So from REST framework import router. Okay, and the default router, and all we need to is pass the people view set class. Let's import people view set class, and after that we just pass over here and just type people. Let's name as people, and let's add over here path. Okay, and let's import include as well. So now we are good to go, and let's hit this API. We need to go this way, and once we hit this, so you can see all our CRUD APIs are done. So let's suppose we want to add some data, we just do this thing people and just hit, and you can say it's now created. So let's suppose we name something called Aman Gupta. Okay, let's hit this, and when we get the data you are able to see like we are Aman Gupta, where it is, Aman Gupta is now done. So like you can see the magic, we just wrote 2 line of code, 2 or 3 line of code, and all the CRUD APIs are now done. So this is a like you can say this is a like effectiveness of Django REST framework. Like it's so like easy to implement all the CRUD APIs. All you need to just focus on your application layer. You don't need to focus on CRUD APIs on all these small stuff. So this is how it is implemented, like model view set, and you can use something. So let's suppose we want to add a search functionality over here. So what we can do is, so we have like some methods which I want to show you. It's like, let's say go over here, retrieve mixin. So it's called list method. Okay, so let's implement a list method. So def list, and it takes self. And if you want to modify the behavior of get API, let's suppose we want to add a search filter. So let's suppose I pass ABC, and we want to get all the data which is like which starts with AB. Let's suppose I want to filter RAM, so I will just type RAM over here as over here as equal to search equal to R. Okay, so it will get all the name which are in the database as R. Okay, so let's implement that functionality. So first of all, let's get the search parameter. Let me first show you how this works. Okay, response status of 200. Let's hit this, and now you can see, like it's not calling the inbuilt method, it's calling this method, this list method. So let's suppose search is equal to request dot get and search, and let's see. First of all, let's implement the query set. Query set is equal to self dot query set. Okay, so if search, so query set is equal to query set dot filter name underscore underscore starts with is equal to search. Okay, and all we need to just serialize this thing. Serialize is equal to, what's that thing, people serializer query set man equal to true. Okay, and just we need to pass the data over. So let's do this thing. So let's suppose we have pass r over here, and it will only fetch the data which starts with r. So let's suppose we pass a, so it will only fetch the data which starts with ra. And if I do for a, so we can get all the data which is starting from a, and if we type am, so we can only get the data which starts with am. And let's suppose we want o data, so we don't have any kind of a data which is like any kind of data in the database which starts with o, so it's returning an empty list. So now you can see how we can override this method. So let's suppose if you want to override some functionalities of Modelviewset, you can also do that thing, because like REST framework is when like you are dealing with object oriented framework. So if you want to modify any functionality, you can modify any of the functionality in Django REST framework. That's the beauty of Django REST framework, because it gives you so much of the thing like other framework are not capable. Like if you like write something in Node.js, you won't be able to get all these classes and all these things, but in Django REST framework you get all these kinds of data, and it's very insane level. Like when you build some application, you feel the power of Django REST framework, that yes, this framework has something. And when you go to some other framework, you miss the okay, this functionality was there in Django REST framework, why don't in this particular framework? So it's like it's very the beauty of Django REST framework. Okay, and same goes to the other thing. So let's see about status in Django REST framework, how the statuses are managed, because right now we are passing, like if you will see in Postman, we are getting a status of okay. Let's suppose we want to raise some exception. If some exception raised, then we want to pass 403, we want to pass 500 status code. That how we can do that thing. So we need to go on, let's search status codes. Okay, so from REST framework, let's import a status. Okay, and like you need to see what are the successful status, what are the redirection status, what are the client error status, what are the server error status. So you can pick any of the status. You need to understand like why we send 200, why we send 202, why we send 206. So you need to read all the things, but how we can return the status, we will see in this particular video. So okay, so let's suppose we have imported a status, so we can just return this response dot status code. So status is equal to this thing. So let's suppose we want to pass status of 200 201. So we can do status of http 44 not found. Instead of, we can do we can say no content. Okay, so let's go and check this thing. So you can see it's returning 204, and if we want to like add some status of 203 or 201, let's suppose we want to pass 200. So status are very important because most of the front-end developer use all these status to check whether like to show the error messages or to show the status messages, you can say. So when you are writing some APIs, you can use this status code so that it will help more thing, like if like the front-end developer will understand a lot of things, that okay, this is a success status, okay, this is a like error status, so we can show some other messages. And if the like if someone has passed some wrong credential, so you can pass you can say client error, bad request, unauthorized. Okay, so these kind of status, all these statuses are available, and you can like read more about it, that then why like why we return 406, why we return 412, and all these kind of statuses. Okay, so let's move to the next part, that is called permissions in Django. Permissions are very important. Let's suppose we want to show all these data to a person. Like before jumping directly into permission, we just need to see about authentication, that how we do authentication in Django Rest framework. Okay, so Django Rest framework directly comes into, you can say, authentication, that is called token authentication. So we will start with how we can authenticate with token authentication. So let's go with authentication. Okay, so all we need to do is, first of all, we need to add all these things REST framework so that it can start using the authentication class. Okay, so let's paste this over here, and after that we need to add one more thing, that is called REST framework.auth token. So we can add that thing also in settings.py file, installed app, REST framework.auth token. And after that we need to make migration. So let's do that thing. So python manage.py migrate, so it will register one table that is called token. So let's run the server, python manage.py run server. So let's create an API which will register the user, and then it will log in the user. So let's do that thing. So we can do this thing and using, you can say, let's do this. First of all, let's import the user model from django.contrib.auth.models import user, and let's create an API for registering. So we will use APIview decorator, APIview class register API, and it will take APIview, and we will call the post method. So it will take self request, and we need to check like to create any user, we first of all we need email, we need password, we need username. These are the three things which we need to register any user. And so for that particular thing we can create you can say a register serializer class, serializer. First of all we need username. Okay, so serializer.char field, and after that we can use like we need email, so is equal to serializer.email field, and after that we need some password. So we can copy this thing from here, and these are the three things which we require to create an user. So username, email, password, and let's code this thing. So let's import the serializer also. Let's the serializer. Okay, so let's check data is equal to request dot data. Okay, and serializer is equal to and we need to check like whether this user is already in the database or not. So we can add the method called validate. Okay, so let's check First of all, we can pass self data and check if data dot username. So we can check like if user dot objects dot filter username is equal to username. Okay, so if there is a user with the same username dot username, we can return an error dot exist. We can raise an exception, so raise serializer dot validation error dot validation error username is taken. And we can do similar kind of thing to for email as well. So we cannot have a user that has a same, you can say, email. So let's import that thing also from Django dot contrib dot auth dot models import user. And let's do for the, you can say, email as well. Okay, so we have written a filter for username and email. And let's check if serializer dot is valid. So what we can do is we can write a create method, or if there is some error, we can, like, first of all, let's check if not serializer dot valid, we can return an error message, return response. Okay, status is equal to false, and message is equal to serializer dot errors. And we can also pass the status code. So status code can pass status dot, so we can get the status code from here. So let's suppose search status status codes. So we can pass what status code, so we can pass bad request. Okay, and if the like data is successful, we can call this thing serializer dot save, and we can return response status of true. User created, and status is equal to 200, that status 201. Okay, okay, so now we are good to go. And also we need to implement one method in the serializer class, that is called create. So first of all, let's test this API, so what we are getting. Okay, so we need to go in the API URLs, and let's import register API view, and path will be register. Okay, so now let's test as view. We have to add as view because we are using API view. Okay, so now we are good to go, and our like server is rebooting, and let's hit, let's post the, okay, so it's showing an error, and you can say 400 bad request. So let's add a username, that is Abhijit, and email, that is called abhijit@gmail.com, or you can say xyz.com. Okay, and let's add a password of 1234. Okay, so now not implemented error because we haven't implemented that method create. I have already told you, so we need to add that thing as well. So first of all, let's go to def create. Okay, and it will take self validated data, and once we print the validated data, you can see the data which we are getting from the request response. Okay, so you can say username, Abhijit email, and these are the data which we are getting. So let's create this particular thing. So user is equal to user dot objects dot create, username is equal to validated data of username, and same applies to for, like, you can say email. Email is equal to validated data of email, and to save to, or you can say set password, we just need to call a set password method dot set underscore password, that's gonna be validated data of password, and just return that validated data. Okay, now let's test this thing. So user created, and let's check our database. User, so now you can say Abhijit @xyz, and if you want to save like first name last name, you can add over here that we also need some fields that is called first name last name, so that it will help you out to integrate that thing as well. So now we are good to go, and let's suppose I'm saving this particular data again, so it's showing username is taken. Let's suppose I change the username something else. Okay, AB1, so now it's stored another email. Okay, maybe there is something wrong. Email address. Okay, here we need to pass email. Okay, so now username is taken, email is taken. Okay, now it's good to go. So now let's go for, you can say, login API, and then we will, and also like we need to do one more thing that is called token.objects.create, because we are not creating the token for the user, as you can see over here. So if you are like creating some token, you need to do this thing, token.object.getToCreate. So we can do that thing in you can say login API as well. So let's do that thing in the login API, or otherwise if you want to do this thing, you can do this thing over here also. Like once the user is created, you can create the token. So, and you can also see we have a token table as well. Okay, so if you want to create a token, you can just select the user, and it will save the user, and the token is created. So that we will do in the login part. So let's go to the login part of the like view. So let's create a class called login API. So class login API, it will also take API view, and we have already written the serializer for this class, that's called login serializer, and we are going to use this particular serializer in this particular class. Def post, and will take self, and we will take request. Okay, so data is equal to request dot data, and what now we need to do is first of all we need to check whether whether we are able to get the data or not. Serializer is equal to login serializer, and like we can copy this thing from here as well. Okay, so let's suppose the serializer is failed, or you can say is not valid, we can return this thing, and if the serializer is validated, we can check that thing. Okay, so we can check over here. So we need to import some method from django.db.auth we need to import authenticate. Okay, okay, so this is a Django stuff. So we have authenticate method that helps you to, like, you can say, that helps you to, you can say, this method checks whether the username and password are correct or not. So if the username password are correct, it will return the user object. So we can return, so token, so we need to get the token is equal to we need to get import the token model. Okay, so token.object.get to create user, so we can return the response, return response, so we can return the status of 200 and okay, and we can pass the token str of token. Okay, now let's check test this API as well. So okay, so now let's test server is shut down, perhaps you forgot the comma. Okay, so now let's do hit the API. Okay, key error, API login, what's the username, serializer.data. okay, a print serializer.data, and let's see what we get over here. Okay, we have pass email, so we need to do username and password. Username, it should be char field. Okay, let's hit integrity error, not null constant field, user.id. What's the error? Token.object.get. So let's print the token as well. Print token. Let's hit. Let's see. Okay, where was the error? Not null constant field. How is this possible? Okay, like maybe the username and email is does not exist. Okay, so we need to check if not user, so we need to return the error response as well, because like let's suppose the password and username is wrong, we haven't thrown the error that your password and are wrong. So we can type invalid credentials or the username is not found, invalid credentials. So let's test this for Abhijit. I think this is correct. Okay, what's the error? Print user, none. How is this possible, Abhijit? Let's register one more person so that maybe there can be some issue. Register. Okay, page not found, API/register. What's happening? Okay, user created, so we can copy this data, which is we can paste this data, and it's again throwing another invalid and let's see what's so here we are able to like get the data. Okay, the password is not set because the problem is we haven't called the save method. Okay, user dot save, by bad luck user dot save. Okay, so now let's again do this thing. So let's do Abhijit of 2 and 2 and just save it. So let's check whether this time we are able to successfully save the password or not. So now the password is done, so we can just copy this and we can paste this and we can, so now you can see like we are able to get the token. Okay, so but now how we can use this token? So let's suppose we have an API and we only want to show all the data to the like authenticated user. So let's suppose we have created an API, this one, you can say here APIview. Okay, so we only want to show the data to the person who is authenticated and not to the person who is not authenticated. So how we can do this? First of all, we need to add the token. We are able to get the token, so we can use the permission classes in Django. So let's see how these things are implemented. So the default, so like we have already done this thing. Maybe we need to go in the settings.py file, just go in the down, and we are using the default authentication that is called basic authentication and session authentication. So we need to add a default permission class that is called is authenticated. Okay, or you can say allow any, we can use allow any and we can add that thing. Okay, so now let's import this is authenticated and let's go to the views, and first of all let's import, and we also need to import the permission classes, that what permission classes is this, you can say uses is using. So first of all we have integrated and we can see one more thing that's called, okay, let's try with this thing. So permission classes is authenticated, so let's go to the this, you can say class. Okay, and permission authentication, let's test this thing, and the route name is the route name is what, p persons, and let's hit. So now you can see the permission credential are not provided, so we can go in the header and we can just, we need to add this thing that's called, you can say just one authorization, and the token which we got from the this thing. Okay, so we can add token, let's hit. Authentication are not provided because we haven't added one more class. So let's add this thing also. So from REST framework import this thing. Okay, and we are using token authentication, so we will import token authentication. Okay, and we need to add authentication class that is called token authentication. So Django Rest framework will get information that what authentication class it should need. Token authentication, just remove this thing. So like now let's test this API. So now you can see we are able to get the data, and let's suppose we turn off this thing, and when we hit this thing you can see authentication credential was not provided. So if you want to add some authentication credential to the API view, you can use this method, like permission classes is authenticated, and you can see like authentication, like sorry, permission class you need to add is authenticated, or you can pass allow any, so that anyone can access whether the person is logged in, logged out or not. Or one more very interesting thing, so if you want to get which user is authenticated, so you can type like what print, you just do this thing, request dot user. So let's do this thing. So first of all we need to do this thing. So you can see Abhijit2 is logged in. So let's suppose I change the token, or you can say I change you can say, let's suppose we the token is for some other user, so we will get that user as well. So let's create and test this thing also. Admin token, and this token is for Abhijit AB1 Jeet. Let's paste this thing, hit this, now you do this. So now the user is changed. So this is the way how we can authenticate, how you can register user, how you can log in the user, how you can add permission classes which will allow only authenticated user to see the data, or to make a request on that particular route. So I think now you people are able to understand. So now let's see about what's pagination in Django. Like pagination is very important. Let's suppose you have like thousands of, or you can say lakhs of record. So you cannot expose all the data in one API, because like your API will be so, you can say, heavy. So it won't be able to able to manage that thing. So you can use pagination. So let's go to the pagination classes, and to implement that pagination class you can use this thing. So let's suppose we could just copy this thing, and in the settings.py we just paste. Okay, so for pagination we have a lot of classes that is called limit offset pagination, or you can say cursor pagination, and other classes. So let's add this thing. Okay. I personally used to write a paginator, a custom paginator. So let's add that thing, helpers.py, and let's add a paginator, def paginator. So let's see an example of pagination in Django Rest framework. So first of all, we need to import from django.core.paginator. Let's import the paginator class. Okay, and after that let's get the page. So what's the current page? So request.get page, and comma of 1. By default it will take 1 as an argument, and let's add a page size. So like right now we don't have a lot of records, so we will like paginate, the pagination size will be 2. Let's suppose 3 will be the pagination size. So you will only be able to see 3 records in one page. Okay, and you can increase it to as many as one. Like basically we have 50 or 40 records per page, but right now we don't have a lot of data, so we are only doing that for 3. So again, so let's do this, and okay, so page size is equal to it should be page size, and page number you can say pass over here. Okay, so now let's test this particular thing, and I hope the code is correct. So let's add. So right now we are able to see only other server is okay. What is that? Okay, so let's do this, hit this page. So right now you are able to see only 3 record, 1, 2 and 3. And if we do for page equal to 2, so right now page 2 is not found. So we also need to check whether like it's a valid page or not. So like instead of this we can do also, it will return a lot of records. Okay, and let's again test this page. Okay, sorry. Okay, so now you are able to see the next record, page 2, and if you go for page 3, so 11, 12, 13, and if you go for page 4, so it's 14, 15, 16, and if you go for page 5, and let's suppose someone like right now the record is like finished off, and if you go for 6 it will throw an error. Okay, empty page number. So what we can do is, if this is basically returning an exception, so we can surround it by try catch. Okay, so try except exception as E, and we can return a response of error. Okay, so that's a invalid page number. Status of false, and we can throw a message that invalid page number, invalid page. Okay, so let's again hit this thing, empty page, where it's throwing an exception, online number, paginator. Okay, okay, I think the code is correct. Empty page, the page contains no result. Let's surround it over here. Okay, okay, now let's run this, and invalid page, now it's working. So let's suppose if we do for 3, so right now we are able to get the data, and if we don't pass the page number, it will automatically fetch the first record, like it will automatically like detect that this is the first page number. Okay, so now we are at a good position in Django Rest framework. So let's go to very important topic, that was action in Modelviewset. So like basically when we create an API, we have a lot of requests. Let's suppose there was a method, we use Modelviewset. So let's suppose we want to add more route like class, so we cannot do that. We only need to use APIview or API decorator or Modelviewset. So all these like APIs are capable of handling CRUD APIs. But let's suppose we want to encapsulate all the, you can say, APIs in one class. So we can do that particular thing with the help of actions in Django Rest framework. So let's suppose this API APIview was capable of handling a lot of things, that CRUD API. So let's suppose now we want to send an email to a person. So like again we need to write an API that class send email APIview, or you can say send API Modelviewset. But we want all the functionality related to people should be in a one class. That's how object-oriented programming works, that we encapsulate all the methods and all the functionality in just one class, that okay, this class is capable of handling this thing only. Okay, so we just use that class and our works goes on. So but now we cannot do that particular thing, so we will introduce actions in Django Rest framework. So actions are very important. It's a, like you can only use actions in Modelviewset. You cannot use actions in like you can say APIview decorator or APIview class or any mixins, but you can use that particular thing in the view set. So let's see what are actions in Django Rest framework. So actions, first of all we need to go in the Modelviewset, and then we can go for actions. Let's search. Okay, viewset actions. Okay, so viewset actions are like you only have these kinds of method, but in actions you can have a lot of other methods as well. So by action, let's suppose it's a like it's a kind of a decorator. So first of all we need to import that particular thing. So we can go to the top of the page and just import it. Okay, and we can import unnecessary things, remove it. And now again we can go to the bottom of the page and we can add an action. So let's suppose we want to add one more API route, so it will send an mail. We are not basically sending the mail, but just we are going to in a demo purpose. Okay, so let's suppose we want to like send an email, send mail to person self request, and let's do it for detail is equal to false. First of all we will see detail false example, then we will see about. Okay, so return response okay. So this particular API was capable of sending the, you can say, mail. So we just added this thing. so right now the our URL will look something like this. So right now we have API slash persons. Maybe what was the API route? API route was people. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to call this particular action that was send email to person. So we can add this thing. Okay, runtime error, what's it? Okay, so you can see we are able to successfully call this function with the help of actions. So now I hope like you are able to understand. You can write the logic of handling the email, or you can like you want to do some other functionalities in a API, so you can do that functionality in using actions. So let's suppose you want to pass some you can say primary key, or you want to pass some slug, so we can do all that thing also. So let's suppose slug, or you can say pk, and here you like if you are adding something over here, so you need to make details is equal to true. Okay, now you will be able to get the pk as well, or you can say any slug. So now this route will not work, so you need to add one thing over here. Okay, you can get all these things. So let's suppose we want to get all the you can say color, where we want to get all the person ID, like we want to get one person using that particular ID. So our URL will look something like this one, and send email to person, so that we can call this object is equal to person dot objects dot get pk is equal to pk, and serializer is equal to obj, and we can return this thing data. Okay, so now we do this. So name pandas. Okay, I don't know why it automatically imports some unnecessary stuff. Just hit. Now you are able to see like when we want to pass something, and also you can toggle the method as well. If we want this API to be a get API, so you can add method is equal to get, and now it will be a get API. So we can toggle over here. So now it's a get API, and if you will hit post method is not allowed. Now I hope like you are able to understand this thing as well. Okay, so this was a video for pagination and actions in Django REST frameworks. Okay, so one very important thing that I want to tell you about Modelviewset is that like in some of the cases you don't want to expose all the API. Okay, so let's suppose we want to create an API that should be able to only get requests, that shouldn't able to like, let's suppose we want only two methods to apply that particular Modelviewset. We want get method and we want post method. We don't want any other kind of method like put, patch, delete. Okay, so we only want two types of method. So how we can do that? So Modelview, as you know, like Modelviewset is capable of handling all the methods, like whether it's a get method, put method, patch method, put, delete, and everything you can do with the help of Modelviewset. But in some cases you only need to like limit the kind of a method on the APIs. So let's suppose we don't want to, like once the people is created or once the employees person is created, we don't want to update on that person. So how we can do that? So we have a like keyword called http method name. So here you can the method name which you want to allow. Let's suppose we want to allow only get and post method, so you can add this particular thing. So once we like do any other method, let's suppose we want to post a method, so we will be able to post a method, but like right now we don't have any correct data. And when we do the put method, it's saying put method is not allowed, and when we will do patch, it will also throw an error that patch method is not allowed. Only two methods are allowed. The first one is a get method and the second one is a post method. and none of the other methods are will work. So this is the beauty of Modelviewset, and you can say, or you can say, Django Rest framework. And this was a very important topic. In most of the cases, you don't want to add you only want to limit the API request. You want to you want to apply only get method. You only want to apply the post method. You won't be able to people should not be, or you can say API should not be able to get the data. You only want to limit that to post and pass. You can do this by HTTP method names, and you can pass a list of method which this Modelviewset can use. So we have covered pretty much each and everything about Django Rest framework till now, and this was an entire course that how you can create some beautiful APIs using Django Rest framework. Okay, so now we are gonna create a to-do application which will help you to understand that how we can create a to-do, how we can update a to-do using different kinds of method. First of all, we are gonna use view, you can say APIview. First of all, we are gonna use APIview decorator. Then we are gonna use APIview class. Then after that, we are gonna use, you can say, Modelviewset. Okay, so we are now at the end of the video, and I hope you people have enjoyed the video and have learned a lot of things about Django Rest framework, that how we can use authentication, how we can use pagination, and how we can create model view sets, how we can use model view set, how we can what are the status codes in Django, and what are routers in Django. And we have covered a lot of topics in Django Rest framework, and it was a quite interesting video, and I hope you people have learned a lot of things. So now what you can do is you can create some kind of APIs with the help of using Django Rest framework that will help you to allow get most out of this particular video. This is it for the video. I hope you people have enjoyed, and if you create any projects, do comment in the comment section, and if you have any doubt, do also comment in the comment section. I will try to help you out. So meet you in the next video, and goodbye, and do subscribe to Scaler. Thank you.